good morning, everybody. For the next 45 minutes, we're going to talk about AI and how you can use it. But before we begin, I've noticed that a lot of people have in the chat their own concerns that they've expressed about their nonlinear job and history. Everyone has a nonlinear history. We've all taken courses and deviations from job one, job two, job three. The real question is, at this stage of your life, what if you got to offer a prospective employer? What problems can you solve for a prospective employer? And that's what we're going to do is we're going to write our resumes, our cover letters, and all of that to address that question. How do I solve a problem that you have? And I don't care whether you've been unemployed for 15 years. If you have skills, knowledge, ideas, whatever it is that you have to solve problems for a prospective employer, that's the message that you want to have. Number two, this is the bad news. Nobody is going to read your resume. And I mean that to say no human being is going to read your resume, at least not initially. Your resume is going to be read by a robot. And part of what we're going to be talking about here is how to get your resume past the robot and to a human being, and some of the tools and techniques that you can use. But in keeping with what was said before by the AARP, the best way to avoid having your resume read by a robot is to have a human hand it to another human and say, take a look at this person. And so a lot of what you're trying to do, most of the time, you're going to get hired. You're going to get hired because you've made a connection to somebody who has a connection to somebody who has a connection to somebody who can help you place that job. All right. So that's what we'll be talking about. Let me share my slides here.
And the slides will be available to you on our website.
All right. So the first thing to note is that the way, if you post a job, all right, this has a lot to do with the way like students are now applying for colleges and like when we were applying for colleges, we picked 3 or 4 schools. We had a safe school, we had a reach school, and then we had a couple of schools in between. And if we applied to 3 or 4 or 5 colleges, that was a lot because it's a lot of writing, it's a lot of essays to write, it's a lot of fees to pay. And we applied to 5 or 6 colleges or universities. The same thing was true of applying for jobs. Even in a long job search, you may apply, to 10, 15, 20 different jobs. Modern technologies allow people to apply for lots and lots of colleges and lots of jobs. And as a result, when somebody puts out a job announcement, they may get inundated by hundreds or thousands of people searching for that job. Some of those people have no qualifications whatsoever for that job. Some people are highly qualified for that job, but the vast number of people are somewhere in between. They have some of the skills required for the job, but they don't necessarily have all of that. They may be a good candidate, but not the best candidate. And so what's happening now is for an employer who puts out a job qualification, especially now that we allow for remote work, a small company in, say, Silver Spring may get 10,000 applicants for a decent job from people all over the country and indeed all over the world. And some of these are what we call spray and pray applications, where they just apply to everything that has a keyword in it that meets their resume. The goal here is, and as a result, what's happened is employers are invariably doing things to filter the jobs that they have people applying for. And one human being can't possibly read through all of them. And so now what's happening is they're using these ATS or applicant tracking systems to try to narrow down the number of highly qualified applicants that they want to look at with a human being. So it is designed to filter out as much as 95 to 99% of the job applications so that human beings will only look at a very, very small percentage. So what it does is it takes your resume and it that you have carefully crafted, toned, made it perfect, put every word, every punctuation mark, every space, every column that you have perfected, and just rips it to shreds, slices, dices, parses, rewrites, whatever, into a format that a computer can read. And then it filters it. It does all of that kind of filtering and deciding who it's going to look at. And so all that work that you put into writing the perfect resume and phrasing it perfectly is going to be lost when a robot starts to look at it. So what we're going to talk about is how to write a resume for the robot. Part of the problem here has been with the change in the federal government workforce and the recent firings and restructurings and the like. You have a lot of people who are in the federal government who are highly qualified, who have years or decades of experience. And that experience is primarily within the context of the federal government or federal state relationships or federal and regulated entity relationships, whatever it is. And the soft skills are transferable, but many of the hard skills, it's hard to decide how they transfer to another job. If you've been working for USAID, managing multi-million or billion-dollar foreign grants to prevent hunger in West Africa, you look at that and you say, well, I've been working with non-governmental organizations. I've been coordinating these types of things. What is a job that does that? These are jobs that are primarily done by the US federal government. And other people have not come in to occupy the field. So it's awfully difficult, at least when you start out, to say, what are the skills that I have in this job that are transferable? And what jobs should I be looking for that have those same skills? All right. So that's what you're trying to do. The other thing is that because of that, you're going to be very frustrated in your job search because you're going to not find perfect matches between what you think your resume says and what you think that they are looking for. The other thing that ends up happening is because of these winnowing programs, you may apply for 10 or 20 jobs, 30, 40, 50 jobs, whatever the number is. And ultimately what happens is you don't hear back. In the old days, you would apply for a job, you get a thank you for your applying, but we don't. Your skills do not meet our requirements at this time. But we'll keep your resume on file, which meant they were going to throw your resume away. Right now, you get totally ghosted. You get nothing back. You get no feedback. You're not sure how to rewrite your resume because you're not sure what was wrong with your resume in the first place. So, the first way to beat the bots. Bypass the bot entirely. This is the best and most effective way to beat the bot. If a computer is reading your resume, you've already lost half the battle. The best way to beat the bot is to bypass the bot entirely. Because hiring managers work two ways. One, applications, people who apply. But second, through networking. And I know this personally, the company that I work for, if we needed a trained Unix programmer, we could post something online and say, we're looking for somebody with 12 years experience in Unix programming, who has experience in information security, who is blah, 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 whatever it is. Or we could go around to the people who work for a company and say, you know anybody good for this role? And the people who already work for us, who know people in that role, will also know hard and soft skills. They'll know, yes, this person is really good at Unix. They have a background in information security. They're easy to work with. They are a self-starter. They'll know all those soft skills that don't appear on your resume. So if you can be the person who is referred by a current employee, or someone who knows a current employee, you will have bypassed the bot. So you need to make the right connections. But I don't know anybody at that company. I don't know anybody in that field. I don't know anybody in the hiring chain. I don't know anybody in that industry or field. I haven't looked for a job in 20 years. I don't know anybody in this field. What do I do? So you've heard a discussion before, and you'll hear this all over again about LinkedIn, that LinkedIn and other social media give you an opportunity to network with people. Think about this. If you wanted to get hired as a program manager for a multi-million-dollar program that requires organizational skills, communication skills, all kinds of things like that. And you've been doing that for the federal government. And you want to get hired in the private sector to do that. If you could figure out the best way to network, what would it be? How would you network if you need to network? The absolute best way to network is at a trade organization of people in the field. You get invited to give the keynote address on a topic that everybody will want to hear about. And you give a brilliant keynote address. And everybody there says, this person knows what they're talking about. They are smart, they're entertaining, they're engaging. I want to hire that person. So you want to give the keynote address at a conference about the thing you want to be talking about. Well, those opportunities don't come up very often. But online, you have the opportunity to do that. So, for example, the kinds of places you want to get involved in is LinkedIn, but not just LinkedIn itself. LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups. And what groups are is a place where people of like minds congregate. So if you are, for example, an administrative assistant, or you are a program manager, or you are a policy wonk. Let's say you're a policy wonk on healthcare. So your job is healthcare policy, particularly with a focus on financing of healthcare organizations. There is a group for people like you, the most boring group in the world. You want to be a member of that group. But you don't just want to be a member of that group. You want to be an active participant in that group. That is your conference. Your conference is all of the people in that group. So you will find online a group of healthcare finance professionals. And the first thing you're going to do when you join that group is you're going to look up the names of everybody in that group. There may be 10, there may be 100, there may be 1,000, there may be 10,000. And you're going to identify those people who participate the most in the group. And you are going to then communicate individually with some of the people who say things that are interesting to you. The other thing you're going to do is you are going to give your own TED Talk. Once you find a platform, so this is now a group of, say, 5,000 local healthcare professionals involved in healthcare financing. Now you're going to start to write articles for that group and post them. Those articles can be as little as 4 sentences long. Something that is of interest to them. You get to express your views, what you think are the issues, or you can actually ask them questions like, what are the biggest challenges you're facing in 2026? What kinds of problems do you find you need to solve? And then you can interact with them and have a dialogue with them. So you're going to find a platform, find a voice, have something to say, follow up with people. And that is the way you are going to make connections in your industry, whatever that industry may be. And your industry may be a particular sector, finance, government, politics, healthcare, oil and gas, multinational corporations, nonprofits. It may be in a sector like that. It may be in an interest that is nonprofits dealing with people over 50, whatever else it is. Or it may be among a skill set, which is computer security professionals, privacy professionals, government program managers. So there will be fields of interest in anything that you do. You're going to find people who are in that field using social media, join those groups, and actively participate every day. You are going to be giving the keynote address to the conference among the decision makers you want to be known about. And you're going to be doing that every day. And AI can help. AI can help you decide what topics are of interest, what articles you should write. It can help you write the articles, find your voice. But remember, it is only a tool, but you can use that tool to help connect with people. Once you've established your bona fides and your knowledge that you are seen in the community, now you can start reaching out to members of the community. You may write an article that's interesting, controversial, whatever else it is. And I don't particularly shy from controversy, although it's a double-edged sword. If you take a highly political position on one of these, you're going to alienate half the people. But you may excite the other half. So it's a calculated decision that you need to make. And now you're known. You're known in the community. You are participating in the community. And now you can leverage that into, by the way, do you have any opportunities? By the way, this is what I'm looking to do for an organization like yours. Do you know of anybody who's looking? And don't just say, hey, I see you work for X and Y company. Do you have any opportunities there? Do you know of any opportunities in this field? What would you recommend? Solicit them as a mentor. Solicit their assistance and help. So again, the easiest, fastest, and most effective way to beat the bot is to bypass the bot. However, that's not going to work for everybody, and it's not going to work in all situations. So the AI programs like ChatGPT, and there are dozens of others. I focus on ChatGPT because it's the one I got first and paid for. So I focus on that. But if you are, for example, a healthcare privacy expert, you say, what are the top 20 issues for healthcare privacy in 2026? And it'll give you some ideas. So now you have things you can talk about. So it can suggest topics or articles. It can help you write the articles. It can help you communicate with people. It can help you do the research. Okay? But remember, AI programs make things up. So it is a tool to help you write. It is not an excuse for not writing. Many people use AI tools to help them apply to 10 or 20 or 50 jobs a day. That is not an effective use. That is a good way to get 10 or 20 or 50 rejections every day. It's not a good way to be effective. All right. Now, remember I was talking to you about how they use AI tools like applicant tracking systems to winnow down from 100 resumes to 2 or 3, and that you'll have highly qualified, unqualified, and the vast number of people in the middle of that. Your goal is to move your resume from the qualified to the highly qualified, to the best qualified. Okay. You want to be a solution for their problem. However, it's not enough for you to write a really good resume that describes you. You have to write a really good resume for that job. Not for you, but for that job. So if you look at the applicant tracking system, one of the things an applicant tracking system does initially, you will have this beautiful resume. It'll be lovely. It'll be formatted. All the bullet points are there, right? And you put it into an application. And the first thing it does, it strips out everything that's unique, everything that's pretty in it, everything that makes it beautiful to look at, and turns it into almost a text file of skills and qualifications. So it is going to strip out all the formatting. And I'll give you an example. I teach, as Jody mentioned, I teach at George Washington Law School, Georgetown Law School, Harvard Law School, American University Law School, Catholic University Law School, and I've lectured and I taught undergraduate at George Mason, James Madison, University of Maryland, American University, and all that's at the end of my resume, which says, academic work. When I put that into a resume, it thinks I went to all of those colleges. And so my list of colleges looks like I went to 40 colleges. And then I got thrown out of all of them because I only teach there for like 5 or 6 years, right? And so I have to end up, when I put my resume into one of these systems, I have to go back and manually say, no, that's part of my job. That is not part of my education. So one of the things you're going to have is it's going to misread your resume and place things in the wrong place. You need to be consistent in your resume and its formatting. So if you decide you're going to say that you're going to start with the place you worked, then your job title, then the dates you worked there, and then the location where that job was. Be consistent in each of the applications, because otherwise the thing that parses it is going to get it wrong. And you're going to spend more time rewriting the resume online than you did writing the resume in the first place. And so there are all kinds of AI generative tools that will make that consistent. You can just ask ChatGPT, make my resume formatting consistent. All right. So you want to have the same formatting across it. If you have in one job bullet points and another job a narrative, the program will not know what to do with it. It may misread the dates. If you write in one date January 2022 and the other one 1/27 or 1/18 or whatever it is, it may not get that correct. So you want to make sure that everything is consistent across it. Now, I want to talk about keyword filtering. If you're looking for a job, for example, as an administrative assistant, the first thing you're asking yourself is, what is it that they want from this administrative assistant? What qualities are they looking for? So they're going to look for strong organizational skills, the ability to anticipate problems, the ability to communicate effectively. They may look for things, soft skills like being friendly, helpful, cooperative, getting along with other people, okay, being timely, all kinds of different skills. Here's a little trick. The job announcement itself will tell you what they are looking for. Somebody spent some time and effort to tell you what they are looking for. Give that to them. Make sure your resume says, I am all the things you are looking for. And I have experience delivering all the things you are looking for in each of the jobs I've had. And in the jobs I haven't had. If you took 12 years off to raise children and you are now looking for a job as an administrative assistant, those 12 years were not wasted. Raising children is corralling cats. So is being an administrative assistant. So you want to even take the things you did when you were not working and make that an asset. The things that the way you learn to prioritize tasks, the way you learn to organize tasks, the way you learn to follow up on things, all of that are soft skills which need to be part of your resume. All right. So this is a translation challenge, translating what your resume says now to what they say they are looking for. But also recognize the fact that just because they say they are looking for something doesn't mean that that's all that they are looking for. So, there's what I call the George Clooney issue. George Clooney was a young actor trying to get a job. And he realized he had a problem because he had to audition for each of the jobs. And he was hoping that wherever he was auditioning would have a solution for his problem. His problem is he needed a job. And then he had an epiphany. He decided, you know what? The real thing here is somebody's written a script. And in that script, there's a role. And they can't make this movie, TV show, commercial, whatever else it is, without somebody to fill that role. So instead of them being a solution to my problem, I am a solution to their problem. I solve their problem, and this is how. And sometimes you need to be able to identify something that you do that solves a problem they didn't even know that they had. So it's not enough. It's necessary that you solve every problem that they've identified in the job description. But you can even solve more. Okay. So make sure that your resume is formatted so that it is easy for an ATS system to read. All right. So what happens is your resume is then sliced and diced and put into the system. The system parses your resume and then it filters it and it ranks it based upon how much of the skills you have, how many of the skills that you have. Now, if a job description says that something is a job requirement that you must have, and you don't have it on your resume, it will reject your resume and you're going to go into the pile. So what do you do if a job description requires you to have a particular certification that you do not have? You don't lie on your resume. But what you do is you say, I have the following certifications or qualifications, which are comparable to the qualification you're looking for. You put that in your resume. That way, the qualification they are looking for is actually in your resume. I will give you an example. There's a qualification in information security called CISSP, Certified Information Security Something Professional. It's given by a company called ISC Squared. They administer a test. A lot of people in information security have it. I don't. So if I was applying for a job that required CISSP and I didn't have that on my resume, I would be automatically rejected. But what I do have is that I have taught CISSP training courses. I developed the curriculum for ISC Squared for the CISSP class, and I was on the board that drafted and approved the CISSP certification. So I have the letter CISSP on my resume 4 times without ever saying that I have the qualification. So you can do things like, I have a qualification which is similar to CISSP. I am eligible for CISSP. I have taken courses towards CISSP certification. As long as the letters CISSP appear on your resume, the AI program will elevate you. If they don't, you're going to be rejected immediately. All right? So you want to make sure that the things they are looking for appear in your resume. But more than that, they appear repeatedly in your resume. So if you've had 6 jobs from college, 10 jobs from college, each job tells a story. You have one paragraph with 4 bullet points, which is a mini biography. So when you worked for Network Solutions or AT&T or Giant Foods, you are telling a story, a mini biography that you're going to make interesting. And if they're looking for somebody who is attentive to detail, your story about what you did at Giant Foods is going to show how you were attentive to detail. You're going to give a little story in there about something you caught and saved the company money because you were attentive to detail. Even if you were applying for an entirely different job. So you want to have this story told over and over and over again in theme and variation. All right. So that'll get you past the ATS system. So the other problem you have is your resume and what they are looking for are not going to be 100% in alignment. Because if you are only qualified, if you are fully qualified for that job, that means you are only qualified for that job. So there will never be 100% alignment. So one of the things you want to be able to do is you write a resume for each job you're applying for. And AI can help you do this. And one of the simplest things you can do is say, here is my resume. Here is the job description of the job I'm looking for. Hey, AI program, rewrite my resume to optimize it for that job. And it will go ahead and do that. And it will do a terrible job of doing it. And it will make stuff up. But it will be a good first pass. And then you need to tweak that until you get it to the point where that resume that you are putting in for that job says, I am eminently qualified for that job. All right. So what you want to do is sort of mold your resume to the job description and to the solution to the employer's problem. So things like changing job titles to meet with current names of those same job titles, or looking for the skills that they are looking for and make sure that the soft and hard skills appear. Everybody wants somebody they can get along with. All right. It may be a case you have two equally qualified people, but one is pleasant, a people person, gets along with people and anticipates problems, and the other one is simply a rule follower. Be a person they want to hire. Okay.
Mark, we have some questions. Do you want okay, someone said, Mark, it sounds like you're describing a very long resume, and we've all been told that we need to keep these to no longer than 2 pages because they won't.
It's not a long resume. In fact, in many ways, your resume will get shorter. Okay? This is not about the length of the resume or how much is in the resume. The question is whether the resume aligns with the job. Okay? So there may be skills that you put in your resume that have nothing to do with the job you're applying for. You can take them out or summarize them or make them shorter. Okay?
Okay.
So for example,
go ahead.
I have a resume that says, I am a lawyer, I'm a trial lawyer, I'm a litigator, I do criminal defense work. I have another resume that says, I'm a public policy person experienced in legislation and public policy. I have another resume that says, I am deeply involved in privacy litigation and helping companies as a consultant. I have another resume which says, I'm the world's greatest incident response person. I probably have 6 basic resumes that all deal with different aspects of what I did. And which resume I start with as my base resume is dictated by the job I'm applying.
Okay. Let's see. I use ChatGPT for cover letters and still do not hear nothing but rejections. Do you have, and people are asking, what about cover letters? What to include beyond a tailored resume? Are cover letters even necessary?
Cover letters are necessary, but the cover letter serves you best when you're sending a cover letter to a human being who is expecting to hear from you, that you've made a connection with. If it's going through an ATS system, at least on the first pass, the cover letter likely will not be read. However, some ATS systems take the resume and cover letter as one. Now, just because you write a great cover letter doesn't mean that your resume includes the skills they're looking for. So you still need to do all the stuff I was talking about with the resume. Okay.
And someone said, how do you address aligning all these different resumes with your LinkedIn profile?
So your LinkedIn profile is going to be, there's no page limit to your LinkedIn profile. So your LinkedIn profile will suggest at all of these skills. But I suggest you go to LinkedIn and look at 6 people in the field you're looking to get a job in. And ask yourself, when I look at their LinkedIn profile, what is the impression I take away from that? Are they a nice person? Are they friendly? Are they helpful? Are they cooperative? Are they a good person to work with? Do they know what they're doing? Okay. This is literally like being in a bar and looking at you and trying to get a first impression of people. The LinkedIn is the bar. So look at what they're saying about themselves on a LinkedIn profile and then look at what yours says. It is the way somebody's going to look at it. One thing to note, when a human looks at your resume, how long do you think they're going to spend looking at your resume? Jody?
30 seconds.
No. That's 25 seconds too much. 5 seconds. They will spend 5 seconds. And look, one of the things we do in the Career Gateway program is we do resume reviews and stuff. And Jody often volunteers me to do this. And I have a resume. I will look at it for 5 seconds. Who is this person? What do they do? 5 seconds. That's what you want to be able to do, is to say, this is what I call the I love America line. That's the first line in the movie The Godfather. I love America. Tells you everything you need to know about the whole rest of the movie in 3 words. You want your resume to be able to do that. Okay? Any other questions?
We do, but finish. We have 3 more minutes. So,
okay. All right. So the other thing you want to do is you want to make your resume extremely clean. You can actually have 2 resumes, which will have the same content. One which is pretty for a human to read, and one which is digital. But the cleaner the resume, the more consistent it is, even if it's not pretty, meaning it doesn't have all these boldings and it doesn't have all the pull-out boxes, but that will be read easier by an AI program. All right. So what you want to do is mirror all the critical phrases, all the relevant keywords, use the employer's vocabulary, all right, and align your resume to the words that they have, okay, in their job description. All right. You want to also find your humanity. You're going to have a summary statement. Okay. This is the statement. This is not even the elevator pitch. This is the short version of the elevator pitch, which it says the first line of your resume is going to be professional statement. I am, in one sentence that describes you. I am an internationally recognized expert on cybersecurity and data privacy law, period. At least that's what I think I am. Okay? I am the solution to your problem. I am a recognized expert or an experienced professional in data, in healthcare privacy. Okay? And then you are telling stories. Okay? Identify the hard and soft skills that you have. Create a core resume and then a resume for each of the different areas you may want. Make sure all the certifications that are required are in there, every single one of them. That means you need to have the ability to look at a job description and figure out what they're looking for. Go look at some job descriptions of jobs you might like and say, what's common? What are they looking for? Okay. Okay. And then turn the bots on themselves. Have your own bot rewrite your resume so that they will beat the bots. And make sure you have keywords, competence, research the organization. Okay. Give the tool your real resume, and help it fill in the gaps. And then make sure it's accurate It's your own words. It's your own tone. For example, in my job description, I say that I do all these different things, and the last sentence is with a sense of humor and without taking myself too seriously. And if that appeals to them, that appeals to them. If it doesn't appeal to them, I probably don't want to work there. Okay? So rebuild your resume into a clean, single column format, accomplishments, use AI to help you, and then start networking. And that's it. It's simple, isn't it?
Thank you, Mark. We really appreciate it. You're getting a lot of great comments. Mark, do you have a few minutes